In early 1968, the Soviet nuclear ballistic missile submarine K129 suddenly disappeared near American waters close to Hawaii. The Soviet Navy, despite deploying extensive resources, was unable to find its powerful submarine. The United States Navy, however, managed to detect the wreck. With the cooperation of the CIA and the financial backing of billionaire Howard Hughes, the Americans launched one of the most ambitious intelligence and engineering operations in history, known as Project Azorian. This mission aimed to recover parts of the sunken submarine from extreme depths, an endeavor that would test the limits of naval engineering. Upon further inspection of the wreckage, some experts later argued that K129 had gone down while preparing to launch a nuclear strike, an event that could have completely altered the course of the Cold War and possibly triggered a global conflict. *1968 was a year of extraordinary turmoil. The Cold War had reached a fever pitch, and the Vietnam War continued to claim thousands of lives. The United States itself was facing a period of unrest, as the civil rights movement and massive anti-war demonstrations shook the nation. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. further deepened the sense of crisis. Meanwhile, American forces in Vietnam were under immense pressure following the Tet Offensive, a coordinated and large-scale assault by North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces. As American leadership scrambled to hold ground in Southeast Asia, the Soviet Union's military expanded its global presence. Soviet submarines roamed the Pacific, collecting intelligence on American movements and testing their own strategic reach. Among them was K129, a diesel-electric submarine belonging to the Project 629 class, assigned to the Soviet Pacific Fleet based in Kamchatka. Although originally constructed in the late 1950s and later modified in 1964, K129 remained a formidable war machine. By 1967, she had re-entered service equipped with the D4 launch system, capable of firing 3 SSN-5 nuclear missiles. Each missile carried a 1 megaton warhead and had the range to strike significant targets from far out at sea. Command of the submarine was in the hands of Captain Vladimir I Kobzar, a seasoned officer admired for his discipline and leadership. Alongside him was his senior assistant, Alexander M. Jurovin, an ambitious officer with aspirations to rise quickly within the fleet's ranks. Nearly 100 men crewed the vessel, each trained to operate under the intense secrecy and danger of Cold War submarine patrols. Kobzar himself was already considered a candidate for commanding the entire Pacific Fleet, underscoring his reputation and the trust the Soviet Navy placed in him. In February 1968, K129 embarked on its third patrol, scheduled to last until early May. Though its orders were classified, many analysts believe the mission involved monitoring American underwater listening posts scattered across the Pacific. After leaving port on February 24th, the submarine carried out a test dive, surfaced to confirm its systems were working, and radioed back that all was well. The vessel then crossed the 180th meridian into its patrol area and checked in once more with headquarters. That brief transmission would be the last message ever received from K-129. Weeks passed with no word, and Soviet command grew anxious. The submarine had failed to make its routine check-ins, and orders were sent for it to break radio silence. The ocean remained silent. Eventually, Soviet authorities declared K-129 missing and launched a massive search operation that included aircraft, ships, and other submarines. Despite their efforts, no trace of the submarine appeared. U.S. intelligence carefully monitored the Soviet activity in the Pacific, correctly concluding that a submarine had been lost. The Americans turned to their Advanced Sound Surveillance System, or SOSUS, to scour recordings for any anomalies. The system picked up an acoustic event, a loud bang that could only be attributed to a submarine disaster near Hawaii. The USS Halibut, a submarine outfitted for deep-sea reconnaissance, was dispatched to investigate. The mission was given the codename Sand Dollar, For months. The halibut swept the ocean floor with sophisticated sonar and photography equipment. By August 1968, it discovered the shattered remains of K129, lying 4,900 meters below the surface and about 2,500 kilometers from Hawaii. Thousands of high-resolution images revealed the extent of the wreckage. American intelligence analysts quickly realized the potential of the find. Recovering one of the submarine's nuclear missiles, secret codebooks, or communications equipment would provide invaluable insights into Soviet technology and strategy. The CIA, recognizing the immense opportunity, assumed control of the operation, and with the Department of Defense's support, began to plan what would become one of the most daring salvage efforts in history. The challenge was almost unimaginable. Raising a submarine more than 100 meters long and weighing 2,700 tons from nearly 5 kilometers beneath the ocean. The CIA's engineers proposed an audacious solution: construct a massive claw attached to a hydraulic lifting system mounted on a specially built surface vessel. President Richard Nixon approved the plan after being persuaded by Secretary of Defense Melvin Laird and National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger in 1970. By 1972, billionaire Howard Hughes had been brought in to provide cover and technical assistance. Hughes, a man already famous for his work in aviation and defense, claimed the ship under construction was designed to harvest manganese nodules from the seafloor, a plausible explanation that diverted attention from the true mission. The ship, named the Hughes Glomar Explorer, took 4 years to build and cost about $350 million, equivalent to over $1 billion today. It was unlike any vessel ever constructed, combining the appearance of an oil drilling rig with the hidden capabilities of a deep-sea salvage platform. It had a towering derrick, docking legs, a moon pool large enough to conceal massive objects, and most importantly, the enormous mechanical claw known as the capture vehicle. The device could be secretly lowered into the depths to grasp wreckage, and then raised discreetly into the ship through the moon pool, safe from outside observation. Despite elaborate precautions, secrecy was threatened when Hughes's office was burglarized and documents linking him to the CIA were stolen. Rumors circulated, and journalists began to investigate, but the operation pressed forward. On June 20, 1974, the Glomar Explorer departed Long Beach, California, and reached the recovery site by July 4. For over a month, the ship remained in position. Soviet vessels appeared nearby on 2 occasions, but they did not realize the true purpose of the American operation. The claw descended and successfully gripped a portion of the submarine. Slowly, the wreck was raised, but partway through the lift K129 broke apart. A significant section slipped back into the abyss, but the claw managed to retrieve part of the hull. Inside were 2 nuclear torpedoes and the bodies of 6 Soviet sailors. The nuclear codebooks and a 3rd warhead were not recovered. The bodies were later given a burial at sea, an event captured on film and kept classified for decades. Plans for a second attempt to recover the rest of the submarine were abandoned after leaks in the press drew unwanted attention. By early 1975, the Los Angeles Times had published an expose linking Hughes, the CIA, and the Glomar Explorer to the secret operation. With secrecy compromised, the White House canceled further salvage attempts. The CIA responded with its now famous phrase that it could neither confirm nor deny the existence of Project Azorian, giving rise to what became known as the Glomar response. Years later, in 1992, CIA Director Robert Gates released footage of the burial ceremony for the 6 Soviet sailors, a gesture of respect to their families and the Russian government. Additional photographs, information, and recovered materials were eventually shared with Moscow, yet suspicion persisted. Many Russian officials believed the Americans had learned more than they admitted, and some even suggested K129 had been deliberately sunk by U.S. forces. Over time, theories multiplied. Some claimed the